Good morning, children. Today, in Social Science and History for Class 9, we are taking up the topic Socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution. Now, the Russian Revolution had a great impact. The dramatic events which eventually led the ruler or the monarch at that time, Tsar, the emperor, that is Nicholas II, was the ruler. He was forced to give up his power. Then there were changes that came in society, economic equality and well-being of workers and peasants came to be considered also, and a lot of changes were made for them also. But before we come to that, we need to understand the background. Now, if we see the age of social change, the powerful ideas of freedom and equality circulated in Europe after French Revolution. What we need to understand is that something which happens in one country in the world, it will have impact on the rest of the world also sooner or later. And that is what it happened in Russia as well, due to the French Revolution. It created possibilities. What kind of possibilities? That there should be changes in society. If we see that before 18th century, the society was based on privileges and divided into categories. There were estates, orders, and the aristocrats and the church controlled both economic and social power. Suddenly, after the revolution, it was considered possible to bring changes in their country also. If we see that in Europe, everybody did not want to have this, they wanted a transformation, but they did not want to have the same kind of changes. Some wanted gradual changes, some wanted rapid changes. So the responses varied regarding the transformation. So we see that we had three groups of people. We had liberals, we had radicals, and we had conservatives. Now, through the revolution in Russia, we see that socialism became one of the most significant and powerful ideas to shape society in the 20th century. Now, we will take up what these radicals and liberals and the conservatives, what kind of changes that they felt should be brought about in the society. Now, if we take up the liberals, first of all, that liberals, they wish to change society, but how they wanted to bring these changes? They wanted tolerance towards all religions. Like we had the Church of England, and in some countries followed followed the Catholic Church. So they wanted tolerance towards respect for all religions. And if we see in 19th and 20th century, Europe was dominated by Christianity. So the church had a very powerful control and impact on everybody. So what they wanted was that they opposed the absolute and uncontrolled power of dynastic rulers. Like Russia at that time was ruled by Nicholas II. He was the Tsar, the emperor. And so the liberals did not want that this system, that means where they had absolute power, that they had complete power and they could do whatever they wanted to, because under his rule, the people suffered greatly. So they opposed this idea of having these rulers and their power, unlimited power, one can say. Then they favored a democratic government, right? They favored a democratic government, that they wanted where people should also be given some power and protect individual rights of the people, and laws also should be made. They wish to have a well-trained judiciary. Now, judiciary, we are all aware, is the organ that provides justice to everybody. And what they wanted was a judiciary that would be able to work independently. That means that the ruler would not interfere in the work of the judiciary, and neither could the officials. So they wanted such a kind of system established in their country. But one thing that we need to understand is that they were not Democrats. That means that they did not believe or favor universal adult franchise. Now, universal adult franchise means when everybody gets a chance and a chance to vote. But out here, they did not want that. Why? Because they did not support women's right to vote. They only wanted the men folk. They only wanted the men to have the right to vote only. So that is these are the ideas, or these were the thoughts that these liberals possessed. Now we take up what ideas did the radicals possess now. Now radicals, they supported the rights of women, where we see that on one hand we see that liberals did not favor or support that the women should be given the right to vote, whereas the radicals supported the rights of the women also. In fact, they supported the suffragette movement, that is, that women should be given the right to vote. So that was their support to the women. Then they wanted a nation. What kind of a nation? That is a government that was based on majority of a country's population. That means you can say that they differed from the ideas of the liberals. Then they opposed privileges. Whose privileges we are talking about here? The big landowners. The big landowners and the factory owners who were wealthy. So they did not want that. That meant that there should be no preference given to the society. There should be equality maintained. And therefore, the privileges that the big landowners and the factory owners, the wealthy factory owners possessed, they did not want that they should enjoy these privileges. But at the same time, one needs to understand that they were not against private property. They favored that, but they were not favoring concentration of property in the hands of few people. That meant concentration means that the major property should not be owned by a few people, while the rest of the people suffer on account of poverty. Due to that, so the concentration of property would mean that they did not want that that only a few people should have major amount of wealth, whether they were landowners and factory owners. So these were the thoughts that the radicals believed in. Now we come to the third group of people, they were known as the conservatives. Now what was the idea of these conservatives? Now they were against the views of both radicals and the liberals. How they were against, in the sense of how their views differed from them. That is, after the French Revolution, they had come to realize that yes, there should be some changes. But although earlier in the 18th century they opposed, they did not desire to have any change, but in the 19th century they came to accept the fact that yes, changes had to be brought about. But how these changes should be brought about in the country? That there should be gradual changes or there should be slow changes. So that these were the views of the conservatives. So we see, but the one more important thing was for them was that they, at the same time, they wanted the past to be respected, not to be forgotten, whatever that they had in the past. So these were the different groups of people who had different ideas regarding how the society should be there and how the economy should function. So we had the liberals, we had the radicals, and we had the conservatives. Thank you.